we were biohackers. Everything had to be measured. We went keto and, lots of ice baths, somatic, somatic, and soulmatic. And so we don't just work on the mind, you see. We have to also work the heart set.
She's a spiritual entrepreneur. She's a keynote speaker. She's an award-winning author of 2 reclaimed books, The Secrets of Red Lantern and The Way of Spiritual Entrepreneur. She has been listed as top 20 most influential female entrepreneurs. As you offer a new way of being and not doing, how is it different?
So you know how people have to-do lists? But how about a to-be list?
You have also trained high performers for avoiding burnouts, and I want to understand what's the root cause of burnout.
For me, burnout, spirit has left the building.
You just said that masters fuel their emotions through their behaviors. Does that need a lot of training?
But understanding that when we are angry, it means that someone has crossed our boundaries.
So let's say if I know about my triggers, but how do we not reactive in that very moment?
You're speaking to a keynote topic. I'm an international keynote speaker, so you'll have to book me as a keynote speaker to get the full discourse. The war chest of a modern leader is not a tangible war chest. It exists in the quantum.
Welcome, viewers. Today's episode is a blessing, a reward, probably from my gurus. On the day of Guru Purnima, I'm having such a renowned guest, and it's a blessing to have her. I'm having goosebumps. I'm having tremblings everywhere. Just with the thought of that, I'm going to have a conversation about spirituality. It's like I'm going to have a bath with her into the pond of spirituality today, and it's making me a lot nervous. The guest needs no introduction today, but just to share what I'm feeling today, I just want to introduce her to you. She's a spiritual entrepreneur, a remarkable businesswoman, one of the most successful businesswomen in Australia. She's a keynote speaker. She's an award winning author of 2 reclaimed books, The Secrets of Red Lantern and The Way of Spiritual Entrepreneur. She has been listed as top 20 most influential female entrepreneurs, as well as named in the list of 200 most influential women who are going to make the change you want to see in the world. I'm so thrilled to have her. A very warm welcome, Pauline. It's a blessing to have you, and I'm so thrilled to have this conversation. How are you today?
I'm excellent today. Yashika, you're doing absolutely fine. No need to be trembling and nervous. The joy is mine. The joy is mine. I love that you've been following me on Instagram. We just don't know who's watching.
Yeah.
We just need to continue to put our content out there. We never know who's watching. It's not to, get any sort of validation or anything. That's what creatives do, right?
Right.
And everything that you're doing here is your own creation as well. So well done. No need to be nervous. The joy is mine.
Thank you so much. You took it all away just with your words. So, as part of the practice on this show, we just go into a small meditation, connect with that divine energy, and set an intention about why we are doing this conversation. And let's just have those 2 minutes, and then I'll be sharing my intention, inviting you to share yours, and then we'll go into the flow of this conversation.
Sure.
Let's just take 2 minutes. So, Pauline, I invite you to share your intention with us. Why you want to have this discussion
Because you invited me.
and why you accepted that invitation.
Yashika, you're very, very sweet. I believe that the life we live must be the lessons that we teach. And the lessons that we teach must be the life that we live. And so my intention today is to share with yourself and your audience the life that I have lived and the lessons that I must teach.
Amazing, amazing. And I wanted to have this discussion because you are one person that I've followed on Instagram and who is talking about the gray part of the spirituality. It's not black, it's not white. And I want to touch that gray part, I want to bring it to light. I want to, through you, I want to spread that awareness that it's not just part of it, it's the whole picture. Give that glimpse of that bigger picture through this discussion. So let's get started.
Let's go.
All right. The first thing that I have for you is you preach that there should be a new way of being and not doing. But from where I stand, where I see people from, we are so conditioned to understand everything in terms of actions.
Mm,
How being and doing are different in the practical aspect of it.
right. The first thing that I would say is that I don't preach.
Okay,
Um,
you teach. Okay,
I offer.
I
I,
offer.
I, I
Okay,
offer. Everything
okay.
is an offer.
Uh-huh.
I definitely don't preach. That would be an energy leak for me.
Amazing.
That would be too much energy, preaching to the ignorant,
Uh-huh.
preaching to the inexperienced, preaching to the unwilling. That is simply a energy leak, a waste of energy. And so that's the first thing that I would say. I don't preach. um,
Couldn't
I, I,
agree more.
I,
And
I do offer. I do offer.
I correct
um,
myself here, as you offered a new way of being and
yeah.
not doing. How is it different?
I would offer a new way of being and a new way of doing.
Okay.
I don't believe that they should be separate.
Hmm.
So, what does it mean by a new way of doing and a new way of being? So, when you are, so you know how people have to-do lists.
Correct.
I think to-do lists are obviously, very important, or to get done lists is even
Hmm.
more important. But how about a to-be list? To be more joyful, to be more playful, to be more calm, to be more curious, to be more peaceful. When you have a to be list, when you ask yourself every day, what do I need to do in order to feel the way I want to feel? And so it's to make the decision to be very differently. And once you are being very differently, then you will do very
Yes.
differently. And so we are human beings after all. We're not human doing, and we're certainly not human done. And so and so it's not a separation, it's not an either or, it's a doing differently and a being differently. When we are being differently, then we can do very differently.
Amazing. It made things so crystal clear. So from now on, I'm going to have my to-be list. Are you going
Yes.
to have one?
It starts the other way around, right? When we decide how we want to be, then we
Right.
do very differently.
Right. Even just if it's a small thing that I want to be creative entire day, the entire way of how I'm going to operate the day is
Yeah.
going to be
And
magnitude different.
exactly. I mean, if you want to create very differently, do you want to create it in a state of erraticness, in a state of confusion, in a state of, when I know I need to create, I know that I need to create in a state of intention, of allocated time, of no distractions, of no frequency disturbances. And so,
Right.
what do I need to do in order to feel the way I want to feel? And therefore, we are being very differently. Um, m- Most people have their emotions fuel their behaviors. The masters have their behaviors fuel their emotions. And so it is that question, what do I need to do to feel the way I want to feel? So that I could be very differently and therefore doing the doing very differently.
You just said that masters fuel their emotions through their behaviors. Does that need a lot of training, like training your mind,
I
staying
think
in that zone?
Yeah, everything needs training. Everything needs practice. I give a lot of podcasts. I give a lot of interviews. I do a lot of sales calls, and people ask questions as if it can be healed now. Why? How can I do it now? It's like it needs practice. It's like give me the
Mhm,
tools now. It's like I can give you a whole list of things that you can do, but it means no thing unless you integrate it. And
mhm.
so, for example, I know that every morning, every day, I need to connect to nature because we are nature. I need to connect to nature. Why? Because it calms me. I am at the same frequency of the creator. My life has demonstrated that the more I am connected to nature, the more I can manifest, the more magnetic I become, the more joyful, the more centered, the more inspired I am. So that's what I mean by the masters have their behaviors fuel their emotions. So what are those behaviors? To get out in nature, do my walk, touch the earth, ground myself with nature, have sunlight on my skin. And so it's those behaviors which affect the emotions versus getting up and going, ugh, I'm so lazy. Life is miserable. It's too cold. It's too hot. I'll rather be in bed. And therefore, their emotions fuel their behaviors.
Right.
So, what
Right.
do I need to do to feel the way I want to feel?
Amazing. Amazing. The next thing that I have is you talk
That
about
was just the first question. Okay.
yeah, yeah, there is a whole list. There is a whole list. And I hope we get as much as possible from you today. Your time is valuable and I totally understand that. So I want to make maximum out of it.
Of course, Yashika, we're both here to serve, right?
Yeah. Yep. So next thing that I have on my list is you talk about self-realization, and thus you will not be in a reactive behavior once you realize yourself. So let's say if I know about my triggers, that okay, this particular behavior from outside will trigger my anger or will trigger my sadness, but how to be not reactive in that very moment? I know it needs a practice, but what sort of practice? Is it a mental nudge? Is it something that I can do daily to step back in that moment? What is that your technique?
And again, it's if you're thinking about that you've been triggered for however many years, people you've been triggered, for decades,
Hmm.
sometimes even lifetimes with particular traumas or belief systems or decisions that you've made, and to expect them to be healed in an instant is delusional. So there's a process, and there's a path to there, but it all starts with awareness, right? It's awareness. And so if you, from your question, I understand that you already have an awareness of that. And
Hmm.
so you said self-realization brings freedom from reactivity. To react is to reenact. Yes,
Right.
to reenact your patterns, to repeat the
Correct.
patterns. And so the first thing that must come is a decision. If that reaction, if that reenaction serves you because you love to have those neuropeptides charge through your body and give you that sense of familiarity and certainty, or you enjoy being angry, or you enjoy being, sad, or those having that biochemical addiction, then knock yourself out. Carry on, but so it has to start with a decision, and then the practice has to be practiced with intention. Everything is with intention. And so to interrogate where you are reacting, to interrogate where you are reenacting. And this is not to say to beat ourselves up. So for the purpose of this podcast, I can offer for your listeners to speak to themselves in a very gentler way. Isn't it interesting that Pauline behaved that way when Bob asked her that question? I literally speak to myself like this.
Mhm,
Isn't it interesting?
mhm,
I'm not beating myself up. Isn't it interesting in a very curious way? And so, isn't it interesting that Pauline started to get a little bit agitated in the face of fear? Ah, oh, Pauline, there you go again. There you go again. And that's just the first part. But you see, most people have this meta program of resistance. They're not
mhm,
even aware that it is a resistance program that you're running. And so when you say that you have these triggers, how can you put a stop to the triggers? That of course there is a process to that, and it's shadow work, and the shadow work must be done with intention. But first of all, what is the resistance? Why are you resisting feeling angry? Why are you resisting feeling sad? Why are you resisting the very primal emotions? And so we look at the resistance versus saying, when well, I wonder, isn't it interesting that Pauline got angry when Bob said that? But understanding that when we are angry, it means that someone has crossed our boundaries. Ah, Pauline was angry because her boundaries have been crossed. Okay,
mhm,
okay. So what does Pauline need to do now that her boundaries have been crossed? So to have a boundary is to hold yourself to account, to not be a people pleaser, to not have that happen again. Okay, and so what is the resistance? I'm not resisting being angry, you see.
mhm. You're
I'm
going to the root cause first with a touch of self love. You're not
yeah,
bashing yourself, you're just inquiring yourself. Then
yeah.
you're coming to why that anger was there,
No, allowing. I'm first allowing.
allowing
I'm
yourself to be
allowing.
angry.
I'm looking at the resistance because there's no. I can't resist being angry because I am angry. And so, do you know how long it takes for biology of the human body to process an emotion, to have it run through your body? Do you know
Fraction of
how long it takes?
seconds.
90
Fraction of.
seconds.
Mm.
Scientifically proven, 90 seconds. But we resist, you see. We hold on to it. And then we have all these stories put onto it. We beat ourselves up on it. And so it's like a hose. And we've got water running through the hose, but the resistance says we've got to tie the hose up. And what happens when you tie a hose up with the water
Burst
running?
out. It
It's going
bursts
to
out.
burst open versus allowing it to flow through. And so it's scientifically proven. The human body can process it in 90 seconds, and yet we hold on to it because of all the resistance. And sometimes people hold on to it for decades. True or not true?
True, true, amazing. True,
There
true,
is a
true,
bit
true,
of
true.
story. There is a bit of resistance. I'm not meant to be angry, but isn't it interesting? Isn't it interesting that Pauline felt sad about this? What does it mean to be sad? Sad means something has ended or something needs to end. Let's sit with this understanding. Allow it to process through our body, whether it takes 90 seconds or a few minutes or half an hour, just as long as you're not going there because of the resistance and you're sad for 20 years. you know and so that's the awareness piece, and to observe it without judgment, but with absolute curiosity. And so Carl Jung says that where your fear is, there your task is.
Correct. What I'm understanding, you are asking to embrace that emotion, whatsoever it may be, anger, sadness, happiness. Embrace it, get to the root of it, and let it process. How is it different from reactivity? So
So
I
yes,
get anger, I expressed it, I already expressed it to the other person, is it? And then I am processing it, why that happened.
well, when you say to react is to reenact, is
Hmm.
to reenact a pattern.
Correct.
And so when we ask those questions, isn't the whole point to do yourself very differently? Isn't that your question? Because that's what self-actualization is.
Hmm.
Self-realization leads to self-actualization, leads to self-transcendence. But
Correct.
I did pre-frame it. If it works for you and you don't want to transform and you don't want to do it differently because you really like being that angry person and that sad person, knock yourself out, carry on. But isn't the whole point to do it very differently, to be it very differently? And so therefore we have to approach it very differently.
Right, right. We want to approach it differently. That's why
Yeah,
we are sitting here. That's why we are into this discussion.
yeah.
But the thing is, the one point that I'm not clear here is, when are we processing it? After it happened or in that very moment?
In the moment.
In the moment.
Or
Before
a
we
little
actually express it, before we are actually leaking it out on somebody else.
And so I'm understanding that you're saying the next process is to attack the other person.
Yeah, so the emotion comes and you attack. That is what I understand as reactivity.
Yeah, well, then the damage has already been done, right?
Correct, correct. So
Yeah,
we process it when it's happening inside it, right before right before that hose bursts out, right?
sure. I guess everything also is in context, Yashika, because if someone has done you wrong and you explode and you put them in your place because you're in danger,
Yeah.
they're abusive,
Hmm.
they're going to attack you, you better freaking defend yourself. So I think all the questions need to be put in context, right?
Hmm.
Whereas if it's a reaction or a reenaction with something menial, and then you've exploded and caused a lot of pain, that's a whole other discourse on self-mastery. So everything in context. If I'm in danger or someone's about to attack me, whether it be verbally, I'm going to react, and that's not reenacting, because I don't often have those things happen to me, but I'm going to defend myself. I'm going to lash out, because that's an extreme example, right?
Right, right. Understood. Authentic. So, moving on to the next thing, you also talk about challenges makes us stronger, and we
Right.
need to train ourselves with the ability to take pressure because it's going to make us better and better and better. How do we train ourselves to have this pressure progressively? When we talk about strength training, right? We train
Right.
our muscles, we progressively increase the load, but we know where we are right now and how much we need to progress. Can we have that measurement scale for our pressure training also?
Of course. How long do you think it takes for you to have a bitchin' body? It doesn't happen overnight, does it?
No.
No. It takes months, years.
Yes, it
And
does.
so the first answer to that would be, the train, practice, do the work. And
Hmm.
so, um, what's the work? The work is so that we have more capacity, so that
Hmm.
we have more expansion, so that we're not reacting, so that we're not reenacting. And
Hmm.
so the more work we put into capacity, how much pressure can we hold, that takes practice. And so in my work, I have a process called the triple S method,
Hmm.
and it is stillness, structure, and sovereignty. Stillness, structure, and sovereignty. And within each of those practices, there's another structure called the semantic, somatic, and soulmatic. And so we don't just work on the mind, you see. We have to also work on not only the mindset, but also the heart set, the health set, the soul set. And when those things are aligned, that's when you have capacity. So how big can your container hold? How expansive can you be? And so the work is regulating your nervous system, restoring a deep sense of inner calm. You need to nurture your nervous system so that you're not reactionary all the time, so that you have deliberate calm. And everything needs structure. Earlier on, when I said, when you have the rituals, oh, what do I need to do to feel the way I want to feel? What practices will you put in so that you are have these repeatable rhythms, these rituals to amplify your energy, whether it be breath work or yoga or going to the gym or sauna or ice baths, whatever it is. And the third part has to be absolute sovereignty to practice that I am my own person. I will not easily be swayed by other people's opinions because I've lived enough life, I've learned enough lessons so that I can reclaim my intuition, reclaim my sovereignty, my confidence, and have this unshakable presence. And those are like the agreements you make on your with yourself.
Right.
And when you have those things happen for you, you have the capacity to withstand, absorb a lot of pressure, and
Hmm.
have the emotional resilience. But a lot of people love talking about resilience. I think it really needs to be combined with courage and grit as well.
Hmm. One of my mentors often say that he used to practice this. He practiced this for 3 years long, that he used to put himself deliberately into situations that are difficult for him,
Mm?
sitting with those people who are difficult for him, being in places which are difficult for him. And it did train him to took that pressure, to build that
Yeah.
resilience, courage, and grit. Have you done that for yourself also? Have you
Um,
explored that?
to a degree. I am 53 now. I've moved past the stage where I need to prove anything to anyone. You know,
Hmm.
I think we go through I know I certainly did, and, you know, the people who I was hanging around at the time certainly did. You know, we were biohackers. You know, everything had to be measured.
Hmm.
We went keto, and, you know, lots of ice baths, and because it was at the stage of development. That stage of development is very orange. We call it the orange, you know, the achiever phase.
Yeah.
You know, entrepreneurial orange. We need to, you know, achieve, do. This people talk about high performance all the time. I'm at the stage now where I don't really care for high performance anymore. It's deep performance. Deep
Hmm.
performance now. And so walking on coals at a Tony Robbins event. Oh my God, that's so good. These days, been there, done that, don't care. Can you only sleep 4 hours? I can only sleep 3 hours. That's amazing. I'm perimenopausal. I'll rather rest and stay in bed. Rest is a weapon, by the way. Oh, have you done, have you fasted for 24 hours? Well, I fasted for 36 hours. That's amazing for you, but I really love good food and good wine. And so I've way moved past that stage. How about I not put myself into dangerous situations, but I do love a good challenge that every next level of your life is going to demand a next level version of you. And
Right.
what will that next level version be? And that next level version, it doesn't need punishment.
Uh-huh. Right.
I
Right.
hope that answered your question.
You did. So I think at certain point we do need to train. I think life itself presents ourselves so many challenges. If we are
Yeah.
present just for the life itself, we'll be trained well enough for all of that
Yeah.
we are meant to be.
But a lot of people live in the comfort zone, right, Yashika? They live in the comfort zone.
I think that comfort zone somewhere is an escapism from what life is throwing at you. But if you have that intention to be available for the life or
Yeah.
whatever it's sending your way, you'll be trained enough with time.
Yeah. But some people have designed life so that it's comfort. You
Yes.
know, I know people who have never traveled overseas because they're comfortable. They don't have the mindset or the heart set or the soul set to say, if I travel, the world has so much to offer me.
I am one of those persons that I traveling is not my cup of tea, but I've
Yeah.
set that intention that put me into scenarios where I don't want to be, and I've been moved everywhere across
Yeah.
the globe. So I think somewhere if you have that deep intention for your transformation and transcendence, it will happen.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next thing, you always say that fear is a tailwind, not a headwind,
Yeah.
and you can achieve a state of being fearless. How is that possible? When
I get it
fear,
through practice.
I am well aware nothing is possible without practice, but just the idea of being fearless. So I think you are at level A, you can master the fears of level A, but whenever you want to be at level B, you have to have a level B fear in front of you. Until you master that, you will have that, jump point of fear.
Yeah. And so everything in context again, I'm not sure what you mean by level B fear. Is that, jumping off a cliff or running into a fire? That's not that's called recklessness. That's not called fearlessness.
Yep.
The context that I speak to is in the context of entrepreneurship.
Yeah. In
In
that
the,
in that context itself, let's say I'm into a small business, but
yeah,
let's say I'm on a small podcast
yep,
and I want to reach somebody like you. And I have a level B fear here. I am comfortable where I am. I've mastered the fears of my level A, but you are level B for me. I have, for that jump to happen, I have to cross through that fear. I'm fearless at level A, but being able to be at level B, I have to cross that level B
yeah.
stair.
So how did
So
you do it, Yashika? You sent me an Instagram message. Well done.
yes, I took the step forward, definitely, but I
Yeah,
wasn't fearless. I was aware of my fear. I was aware of my trembling. I was aware of everything that was going inside my head, that how I'm going to show up, how I'm going to look in front of her, how I'm going to speak in front of her, how should I design my questions, how should I design that 2 hour slot to get maximum out of it. Everything was there. I was just sitting right in middle of it, like letting it happen to me. So
amazing.
that
And
that was
I,
my
I,
trick.
I have to say that you did well because I'm so busy, and why I'm here is because of your persistence. You were persistence. I believe that
Yes.
persistency is the new currency.
Yes.
I get asked a lot to go on a lot of podcasts. I simply don't have the time. But when someone wears me down, like, all right, thank you, all right already. But let's frame this so that it's beneficial for your listeners. Um, the comfort zone. A lot of people think the comfort zone, they're safe because they take no risks.
Mhm.
Their comfort zone keeps them safe because it's not dangerous. Uh, I believe that the comfort zone is the most dangerous place to be. The comfort zone sees you take no risks at all. The comfort zone sees you fall asleep to your own potential. The comfort zone sees you fall asleep to your own evolution. That stuff makes me want to cry. That breaks my heart. For when I listen to parents say that, my question is, do you realize that your children are watching you? Your staff are watching you. Your customers, your clients are watching you. You've fallen asleep to your potential and your expansion. That's not inspiring. Nothing grows fast in safe spaces, which is when earlier you said, rather than having fear as a tailwind, let's reframe. We reframe it. We reframe it as this headwind, that it leads the way. Where fear resides, X marks the spot. Right? We're not talking about recklessness. We're talking about fearlessness, having less fear. And so what we're fearing, they're fearing the unknown.
Right.
They're fearing the unknown, the uncertainty. Uh, they're fearing the gloriousness of the potential of a gazillion unlimited possibilities. And so I believe that courage is a love affair with the unknown, you know, because the unknown, the quantum field, the field of all possibilities, has so much more glory than this small mind of mine. You know, the amount of times where I've trusted and the unknown has given me more wealth, more glory, than more deliciousness than I could possibly imagine. And so for me, where fear resides, X marks the spot. And so to give value to your audience, I would say that do not let fear stop you from trying.
Yeah. Yeah. Couldn't have been put better than this.
And
It's like,
persistency. Hey, Yachika,
yeah,
wear them
persistence.
down. Wear them down. Bless you.
Definitely. Thank you. Thank you. It's as if my soul is listening every word of yours. It's like so mesmerizing to me. Thank you so much. You have also trained high performers for burnouts, for avoiding burnouts. And I want to understand, what's the root cause of burnouts? Is it too much expectation from the self? Is it coming from the lack? And how do we address that root cause?
A lot of people think that burnout is very different to stress. Burnout is very different to exhaustion. For me, burnout, spirit has left the building. To remain in spirit and inspired, to do your best work, to do what you need. What do I need to do to feel the way I want to feel? When you go about doing that, you have intrinsic inspiration. When you have intrinsic inspiration to live your life each day, deciding what is going to keep you in spirit and inspired, you will never experience burnout. Why? Because when you live your life in spirit and inspired, and you wake up every day without any external motivation, but it has intrinsic inspiration, your energy will be unbridled and burnout won't even be a possibility for you.
Living your inspiration is the key.
So let me ask you, Yashika, your podcast, clearly you are so passionate about it. Will you ever experience burnout doing this?
No.
You will
I
never.
have I had sleepless nights, I had chaotic days, but
Yeah.
this is what keeps me going.
Yeah. So burnout is very different to exhaustion, tiredness, stress. Burnout is spirit has left the building.
Couldn't have been said better than this. You have also talked about not having a protective childhood, because it will make you seek more external support from outside
Are you
as you
sure I
grow.
said that? Those
I've
are not my
been
words.
I have been to, like, I've been going through your book, The Way of Entrepreneur, and somewhere I heard this line that if you are having a very protective childhood, you'll be seeking more external support as you grow. But if
Okay, I
you,
understand.
yeah,
Right.
and if you have more challenges, you'll be an entrepreneur seeking more challenges.
Yep, sure. I understand. And so that's statistically.
Okay.
Yeah, those are the statistics. I didn't make that up. That's what the statistics are when we're talking to entrepreneurship. May I have your question?
Yes, the question here is, I am a mother, you are a mother, and from a mother to mother, I want to understand this. How to have that balance about not being protective, being challenging, and not being, cruel or,
Sure.
difficult to your child. How
Yeah.
to strike that balance.
May I ask how old your children are, Yashika?
She's 6. She'll be turning 7 next month.
Okay, so to give the audience some context, I have a 20-year-old daughter and a 16-year-old son. Highly independent, um, very smart, creative. Mia has physical intelligence, social intelligence. She has 3 or 4 jobs now. Jethro is a dancer. He's intellectual. He's a public speaker, highly independent. But both of them, when they need cuddles in bed with mum, it doesn't matter how old they are, they know that they will come and get cuddles in bed with mum daily, throughout the day. We're very physically affectionate, touchy people. When my daughter walks in the door, I am, Mia! Oh my God! I am that. Every morning when my son wakes up, JJ! Oh my God! Right? As if I haven't seen him for months, you know? And or even when he comes home from school, my love! Oh my God! And so we've trained ourselves to be that, you know. But I grew up in my history, incredibly violent household. My father was an
Yes.
incredibly violent man, verbally abusive, emotionally abusive, physically violent, spiritually abusive. He didn't know any better. He passed on his trauma to my generation. I was determined to not pass it on to my children. That trauma ends with me. It ends with me. But to answer your question, it's not our job to mollycoddle our children. As parents, it is our job to help our children be the most self-sufficient as they can be. I taught my children how to cook at a very early age. I taught them flavors. They both are very concerned, interested. They look after their physical body, their physical health. It's very important for me to not be a parent that needs to be needed. I know a lot of parents who need to be needed, who need to be missed. That's codependency right there, right?
Yes.
Let's have that codependent relationship. Our job is to have our children hold their own. Because when they go out in the big wide world, they're going to have to hold their own,
Oh.
to know that they need to learn their own lessons, to teach them life skills, influence skills, teach them manners, teach them how to cook, teach them how to clean, teach them how to get a job, how to do the household chores. It makes our life easier, of course, right? But always to let them know who is the parent and who is the child. When I need to step up, and I know a lot of parents who forget that they need to be the parent. No, we're our children's best friends. That's amazing, but you need to also parent when you need to parent. But to know that as self-sufficient and independent as they are, we will always be there when they need us. We will always be there, but I'm not going to come to your rescue every time you need something. I'm going to be very discerning on where you can rescue yourself. And so from my own experience, I think that our children, even as adults, they need the 5 A's. The first A is attention. I
Mm-hmm.
see you. I'm paying attention. I notice what matters to you, but I'm not going to be in your face. I'm not going to be in your face. The second A is acceptance. I honor you just as you are, whether you're quirky, whether you're a little bit bitchy, whether you're funny, whether you're placid. I honor you just as you are. I will influence you to be a more quality version of you are, because needs to always be the case. Every next level of your life is going to demand a next level version of you. I don't want you to stay the same, but I accept and honor you just as you are. I'm not going to try to fix you to be like me. That's what I see a lot of parents do, right? The third A is appreciation. You know how much you're cherished? Do you know how much I love you? Not for what you do, but for who you are. And so I never say to my kids, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you, because that means you need to do something for me to be proud of you. But I will say to them, I'm proud to be your mother.
A
I'm
whole new
proud to be your
perspective.
friend. The fourth one is affection. This is so important. It's so important because what we anchor, we have to anchor our children, because the body is the instrument of consciousness. We have to physically anchor them. I show you love in ways that you can feel, that you can hear, that you can touch, that you can stay solid, you know, because one of the things is we have a beautiful dog. His name's Archie, right? Every time someone sees Archie, Archie poo! Oh my God, Archie! We rub Archie, we take him for walks, we hug him. Why don't we do that to our children?
Yeah.
We do that to our pets. And so the fourth A is appreciation. I will show you love in ways that you can feel, through warmth, through welcome, through OTT, welcoming, you know, through gentle care. Or when you're sick, come, I will care for you, but I won't smother you. I won't be, I won't be suffocating. That's a whole different scenario, right? And then the fifth A is allowing. Can we allow? Can we allow to trust the process of their growth? Can we allow to trust that, yes, she's having trouble with a boy, or he's having trouble at school with his friends, or they've got some sort of a thing going on? Can we allow to not to, well, first of all, to not interfere too much until we need to as the parent, but can we allow for them to be free to grow into the process, to come to conclusions and solutions by themselves? Can we allow them to falter? Can we allow them to feel a little bit of pain so that they can become? Otherwise, how will they become? So
Yeah.
I think when it comes to parent and child relationship, that's one of the biggest things, is to not forget that you're the parent.
It's a training in itself. Like being your best self, for you to be a good parent, you need to be your best self. Either you are ignorant to a child or you are a helicopter parent. How to be in that center is what just Pauline shared with us. It's amazing. I have noted down these 5 ways, and these are going to be my policy going forward.
Yeah,
And I'm
it's a beautiful, you know, dance, right? It's a dance, you know,
yeah.
rather than being so rigid in one way or so free in another way.
Yes, somewhere down the line, you need to understand that they are a soul too. They are on their journey too, and they need to have that difficult lessons too. But you
Yeah,
can be there, standing there, watching them going through it, and knowing when you need to step in.
yeah.
Yeah. So I think again, being available to the life, being available to what's happening, actually happening in this very moment in front of you. You also talk about being compassionate and being vulnerable with your team, with the people you're working with. And from where I stand, I do hesitate in these scenarios, thinking that it might expose me to be taken advantage of, sharing a lot or being too authentic or too vulnerable with my team. I would put myself at risk. How can I navigate these scenarios as a entrepreneur, small one even though, but still.
Sure. So, okay. Um, again, everything in context.
Hmm.
As prolific as I am on social media or in the media, I am still a very private person.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's not that I have anything to hide. I think a lot of public figures have a lot of things to hide.
Hmm.
It's not that I don't have anything to hide. It's there are things that I have every right for you not to know about.
Hmm.
There are things that I have every right for you not to see. That's my
Hmm.
right. And so,
Right.
if I'm understanding your question, Yashika, I'm understanding that um, uh, you will only be put into a situation where you will be taken advantage of if it is like airing your dirty laundry, which you have every right to not air, um, or that you have a culture that in your workplace that do take advantage of that. I think that's a different conversation then. If that's the culture of your workplace, that is dangerous for you to share that. But I will say this, I think in the entrepreneurial space, in the workspace, again, everything in context. I believe that as a leader, most entrepreneurs are the leaders, they are the ones that go first. They are the ones that set the vision. They are the ones that call the shots. As a leader, vulnerability has to be framed in what I call vulnerability, which is the potent value exchange of authentic expression without the fear of what others think. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
repeat that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because if you have the fear of what other people think, that's not the right culture to be having this conversation, right? And so vulnerability is the potent value exchange of authentic expression without the fear of what other people will think. And so as a leader in the context of the workplace, this is what I would say. I would say that you only show your vulnerability as a leader. As a leader, I'm not talking about two people in the staff cafeteria talking about their weekend or their husband sleeping with another person or whatever.
No,
I'm
no,
not
no.
talking about that. That's low level. I'm
Yeah.
talking about as a leader in the workplace, you only show your vulnerability if you have the competence. Vulnerability can only be shown if you have the competence. Otherwise, it's just, crying all over the place, and that's just manipulation, right? And so what does that look like? That looks like, for example, hey, we're going to go into a really difficult time right now because of the economy. I'm nervous. There's a lot of uncertainty at play here. I've also got a lot going on at home with my family life. That doesn't mean that I'm going to take away my energy and my focus from what we need to do at work.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd love for all of us to understand that we all are going through a tough time, but on the other side of this, we can make it, but let's be compassionate to one another with that understanding. Or I've just come out of surgery. I'm in a lot of pain right now. I ask for your healing energy. I ask that you give me some time to heal so that we can accomplish what we need to accomplish. That is vulnerability with competence. That is the potent value exchange of authentic expression without the fear of what other people will think. So I think in the context of spiritual entrepreneurship and conscious leadership, we're not talking about vulnerability being crying all over the place and, airing all our because the competence isn't there. I hope that makes sense.
Yes, yes. What I understand it is you express, you share what's happening with you, but then you have a commitment that you will walk through it.
Yeah,
You
because
you you are also showcasing that commitment. You are standing up to it.
that's the competence piece. And in the context of leading a team.
Right.
And if I need to have a big cry because something's hurting me so much, that's going to be in private.
Yeah. All right. You also talk about war chest of leaders. What are the tools that are in the war chest of the leaders? If you can shed some light on that.
Okay, so you're speaking to a keynote topic that I give.
Yes.
I'm an international keynote speaker, so you'll have to book me as a keynote speaker to get the full discourse. But the topic is the war chest of a modern leader.
Modern leaders.
That's the modern leader is a conscious leader. The modern leader is a leader who has a whole lot of self leadership and self mastery. Emotional leadership, emotional mastery. And so the war chest of a modern leader is not a tangible war chest.
Mm-hmm.
It exists in the quantum. It exists in this physical being. This is their war chest. And so when the modern leader is ready for battle in business and in life, the war chest is always there. When they need it, it's there. It's not, obviously not a physical war chest. And so the war chest of a modern leader contains the reserves of resources that is cultivated by the leader to take advantage of any unexpected opportunity. And so it's not any ordinary war chest. It's a war chest that they can take anywhere at any time. So this war chest contains 4 very secret and powerful weapons.